I'm going to stick to two main subjects today. One, Vince McMahon. I've decided to talk exclusively about the Vince McMahon crisis and just the future of WWE. It's niche content, but there's a lot to go into. I mean, it's kind of the story that I mean, it doesn't really surprise anybody. It's maybe like the tail end of the the bell curve or whatever Vince McMahon's kind of career. And then I'm going to do the Proust questionnaire. I guess. I was just looking at it. The questions are insanely pretentious. First question: what is your idea of perfect happiness? Oh my god. I mean, is there an interesting answer to that question? I mean, isn't everybody's idea of perfect happiness kind of the same? A dab rig, probably. Maybe even doing acid would be involved. Like probably doing acid in Joshua Tree. That was pretty close, I guess. Something like that, maybe. There's my incredibly based geriatric millennial Brooklyn answer. Doing acid in Joshua Tree. No, I shouldn't say that on the internet. I never did that. I don't know. It was years ago. Idea of perfect happiness. So this is my new vlog. This is an exclusive premiere. This hasn't been put on the internet. I haven't even edited it yet. I literally just loaded it in the timeline. Not that I do minimal editing, as everyone knows. I'm famous for my radical lack of revision and editing. Yeah, so I'll be answering questions from the Proust questionnaires as well. So we're mixing the high and the low here. In addition to anything else that comes up. I mean, I was hoping that Kuzu Daddy was going to be around so we could do a show in the basement. But I don't know where he's off to. Maybe he's at the boathouse. I came home tonight from the the everyday grocery that I go to every day. And, well, okay, there's this guy. He's an unhoused person, shall we say. And he typically lives in the ATM lobby. On the weekends, anyway. I typically see him in the Chase ATM lobby. And he's got a beard and long hair. He kind of looks like Charles Manson. And I come home. Well, he was in our vestibule. You know, in this building, it's kind of a big building. I don't even know how many units, 24 or something. You know, there's a good amount of people that live here. It's 7 floors. It's hundreds of people, probably. At least 100, let's say. I think. I don't know. But anyway, I come home a few weeks ago, and the guy is in our vestibule, and like any New Yorker, like anybody, you just ignore it and pretend that it goes away, hope that it goes away, and so I just sort of went the other way and let somebody else. I don't know. This is not unusual. These kind of things, although it's a little disconcerting. There's this guy in our fucking foyer. That shouldn't be. There's a lot of families that live in the building. There's a lot of kids that live in the building. So anyway, I come home, a month or two ago, and I see taped up on the fucking glass front door, danger warning. There's this guy that's been sleeping in the lobby that has been exposing himself to women and children and blah blah blah. He may be violent. It's like, whoa, that's insane. I had no idea all that was going on. Of course. And we haven't seen him in in our building since then that I'm aware of. Like I said, I see him, pretty regularly in the Chase ATM lobby right off the subway stop. But recently they've started to have a security guard. This is one of the craziest things about New York. I guess it's not that crazy, but every single one of these fucking, like, Chase ATM, ATM lobbies is what they're called. You have to scan your card to get in. They've all got security guards now, which I suppose it makes me feel safer, I guess. But like, it's crazy to me that they would hire a human being to be in that ATM lobby because it is open 24/7, I think. You know, some of them had started to close at like 10. You know, a lot of the ATM lobbies in Manhattan close at like 10 p.m., probably because of this. But for some reason out here, you know, it's 24/7. And so this guy basically lives there, you know, as far as I can tell. And I just try to avoid him every time I see him. You know, it's bad energy. Uh, you know, I try to go the other way. And but now, like I said, they've got the security guard in the ATM lobby. And anyway, so I come home tonight, and the guy is back in our foyer. He's back in our vestibule. So I don't know what's gonna happen. You know, I didn't do anything about it. Obviously, I'm not a cop. Well, I don't know. I don't know what the, you know, people in the building were like telling the guy to get out. So I don't know. Who the fuck knows? Anyway, that's the situation. In case anything happens, that's in the background of everything that's happening right now. There's that element of, you know, danger or something, just for all you sick people on the internet. But I'm locked in. I locked the front door. I locked my door. So who the fuck knows? I got my what would I use as a weapon? My guitar, my Rickenbacker knockoff. So anyway, yeah, the Vince McMahon scandal. Should I do another priest questionnaire question? Let me check. Let's check it out. I've only got it on this fucking thing. Okay, so I'm getting it off the Vanity Fair. All right, what is your greatest fear? Yeah, I guess it's an appropriate follow-up to that last discussion. What is my greatest fear? Oh, Jesus Christ. I don't know. There's plenty of them. I'd rather not think about it. I don't want to go into great detail or give it that much energy. I don't know. I don't really, although I'm afraid of everything in life constantly, there's always fears. To me, those are like, it's a safety mechanism, I guess. My dad was very protective, and so I am like a cautious person, and there is like a voice in my head at all times that's sort of like, you know, fear-based. And fear of failure maybe is my greatest fear. Let's be realistic about it. I mean, you know, I think this question invites maybe the possibility of being hyperbolic, and, you know, the sky's the limit, really. My greatest fear, you know, obviously being, you know, tortured to death. You know, that's my greatest fear. You know, being some kind of POW or something, you know, that would be terrible. I'd rather not go into that stuff. So, yeah, my greatest fear is just like, I don't know. You try to overcome it, you know. I do the best that I can to even get over the fears that I have, which are like, you know, afraid to go out to a certain thing, or you know, stage fright. Maybe that's my greatest fear, stage fright. I mean, pain. Pain is my greatest fear. Experiencing a lot of pain. But I don't know. There's a lot. There's too many to name. Or, you know, you don't want to really think about it too much. So that's my answer. I'm pleading the fifth on the Proust questionnaire. So, yeah, Vince McMahon scandal. Good God. I don't know. I guess I'll come to this organically. Maybe I'll keep doing the... I mean, no one is surprised. But... one of the interesting things, or what I think is, you know, dramatic about the timing of this, is the positioning and what WWE is going through right now. And it's kind of interesting to see what they just sold the company to TKO or whatever, Endeavor. You know, they basically sold it to Hollywood, more or less. You know, they sold it to Ari Emanuel, apparently, is like in control. And this guy, Tony Khan or something. And it's been merged with the UFC, and now Raw is being on Netflix and this and that. And so I think really what we're seeing is corporate brand. You know, it's just the super brand. They just want the fucking box. You know, it's like Tommy Boy. They just want the fucking box. I think the culture of WWE is Vince McMahon. You know, he is the one that took it from being just one of the territories in a system of territories, which was an agreed upon kind of code of honor that these guys had, where they didn't fuck with each other's territory. You know, you stayed off each other's turf. Vince McMahon Sr. was the New York guy. There was, you know, whoever, Crockett or whatever in the South. You know, there were people all over. Minnesota, is that Crockett? That was the territories, you know? That's the Cornette. I'm telling you, if you're not listening to Cornette is the funniest guy on the internet. Jim Cornette. Even if you're not a wrestling fan, listen to Jim Cornette's fucking podcast, because the dude is hilarious. He is the funniest guy on the internet, period. And he kind of represents provincialism. He's a romantic for the days of the territories and kind of Mid-South. He came up in this kind of the era that Vince McMahon destroyed, basically. You know, so Vincent McMahon, you know, Vincent Kennedy McMahon, you know, he bought the company from his dad, and basically through Reaganomics and, like, extremely predatory, you know, competitive tactics and shock tactics. I mean, WWF, who knows how they fucking leveraged like a national thing. I know when I was a little kid, I was definitely, wrestling is one of the first things I even fucking remember about life. That's why I have like this kind of permanent, kind of romantic, lifelong attachment. There was an innocence to it, I think. What Vince McMahon was doing, blowing up this sort of like boring, long, big husky, like the territory sleeper holds, putting everybody on steroids, making it like blending it with bodybuilding, blending it with comic book gimmicks, you know, making these big characters, making it into a soap opera or more, you know, accentuating, amping up the production value, the rock and wrestling connection. That's probably how I got into it. Wrestling was on MTV, and they sort of hooked in with, I remember seeing Captain Lou Albano, who was also Super Mario on the Super Mario show. And he was with Cyndi Lauper and the, you know, the Goonies and shit, the Goonies music video. So when you're a little kid, all this stuff is in your imagination, and you're just thinking, oh, Hulk Hogan and Captain Lou and Cyndi Lauper and Mr. T and Pee Wee. That's where the fun is. And, you know, Hulk Hogan was just sort of part of, he's like He-Man or something. You know, when you're a little child, these fantasies of body slamming big people. You know, and Hulk Hogan's message to children at that time was like naive and innocent. Say your prayers, take your vitamins or whatever. That era, you know, even though they were adults, and I'm sure all kind of dirty shit was going on backstage. I mean, that's the thing. These territories, it's all dirty. You know, the wrestling business is a dirty business. I think, you know, it's almost like, you know, it's going to become a multinational corporation and sort of be sanitized. But the roots of it were in these kind of regional character, you know, people like Cornette, people with accents, people from, you know, southern accents. Ric Flair from Charlotte, North Carolina, you know, Arn Anderson. They're Confederates. The Four Horsemen. Tully Blanchard. Who's the guy? Harley Race. You know, and it was something that was good on TV in the early days. They could put wrestling on TV because it was a very simple camera setup, whatever. But anyway, Vince McMahon, I think it became cool because of the kind of MTV tie-ins, Hulk Hogan's and Rocky, whatever. And just that character blew up. I don't know. My mom was always encouraging us to like wrestling for some reason. She took us, I remember going to see wrestling in like probably 86, 87, 88, somewhere in there at the Ohio Center. And I think Hulk Hogan was supposed to be there. You know, we were like, we couldn't believe we were actually going to see fucking Hulk Hogan. It wasn't a TV taping, it was a house show. So I'm not sure if Hulk Hogan was actually there, but you know, in my heart. Then, you know, the 90s, they kind of flipped it over again when you're in middle school, when you're in puberty, right? And that's when Vince McMahon could really kind of like indulge his kind of shock tactics and his own kind of like, you know, like Trump, like Howard Stern, like any of, you know, that kind of behavior was encouraged. You know, let's with the Attitude Era and then the Ruthless Aggression Era. It was just about like, you know, let's write ourselves into the storyline and let's push it as far as we fucking can. You know, and I mean, it was always, you know, stuff with his family. You know, some of the storylines were pretty fucking crazy with Stephanie McMahon, the corporation. I think that's one of the things that's weird about this moment we're in is it's almost like the Attitude Era came to life. You know, suddenly there is like this power struggle, and like Triple H and The Rock are like, you know, vying sort of, you know, now that WWE is sort of going legitimate and McMahon is really done. You know, he's no longer gonna have his guys kind of in the company, Bruce Pritchard or whatever, this Laurinaitis guy. He's no longer probably gonna have influence really in the same way. You know, he was still kind of keeping tabs and kind of pulling the strings from behind the scenes creatively, even though he retired or whatever. And now I think that's over. And a lot of people, I mean, I've heard that wrestling got good again. That's one reason why I sort of, like, I've been sort of, I mean, I guess it's a TikTok thing too. TikTok just shows me tons of fucking wrestling content for some reason. And so maybe that's just one reason why I've been thinking about it more. But it seemed like because Vince McMahon no longer had total creative control over everything, wrestling was getting good. No, I don't really like Triple H. Supposedly he was doing a good job at booking. Which, you know, wrestling could be very interesting. If they booked it like it was Game of Thrones or some shit. If they wrote it like it with that level. And I think, you know, wrestling is kind of a live theater on this massive scale, Greek tragedy, but it is like a live Game of Thrones. They're doing the scenes in front of 20,000 goddamn people. You know, literally they're handing the microphone back and forth. That's, you know, they lose something a little bit in the production value, but they are gaining something in that, like, they're traveling all over the country. They're getting tons of people to come out. They're making money so many different ways. They're selling tickets to that. They're selling T-shirts. You know, Vince McMahon just capitalized the fuck out of wrestling. He's an ultra capitalist. He's an ultra apex predator like Trump, like Gordon Gekko, like all those people from the 80s, sociopaths. And he was really enabled by, you know, the wrestlers have never had a union. They don't have any kind of health care. He uses them. He spits them up. He throws them. You know, he chews them up and he spits them out. Look at Benoit. You know, if the NFL is having this reckoning about brain damage, I mean, the reckoning for the WWE is long overdue. But Vince McMahon is totally exploited and undercompensated, and you know, his workers have always been 1099s. So he's kind of a modern, like I said, exemplary kind of capitalist. He was part of the Trump White House, basically. I remember Linda ran for the fucking Senate and shit. And he was one of the first people in the Oval Office, you know. Because it's just money, money, money for him. And, you know, wrestling does condition people for violence and for tribal kind of warfare, tribal allegiances, gangs. division, settling your problems. It's not a good primer, really, for our society. But that's America. America is a war fucking country. And, WWE definitely plays its part in that. They go to Afghanistan on Christmas Day or whatever, Iraq. And so, but the dude created dynamic television, right? I mean, for better or for worse, right? It was the Attitude Era, the Austin versus McMahon thing. Uh, his character, kind of, in a way, to be honest, was kind of the biggest of them all, actually. In when it comes down to it, I think that's one reason why this story has taken over, at least, like, I'm getting like YouTube podcast wrestling discourse. And, like, I mean, this is the biggest story that's really ever happened, I think, in wrestling, probably. Even though, I mean, to me, the timing of it seems like they knew Vince McMahon's career had kind of played itself out, and it's sort of like, you know, they didn't do this 15 years ago. They didn't do it 20 years ago in the midst of the John Cena fucking era or whatever. It's like he's basically out the door already. It's just he's kind of meddling with them trying to move forward, and so, like, this feels like a way of really, like, fucking severing ties with this guy, and they'll wipe him. I mean, I don't know how much you can wipe Vince McMahon from the WWF, like, tape library, because he's just made such compelling memes. I mean, think of how many memes are, like, that one where it's like McMahon in the chair, like, having an orgasm, and it's like his eyes are crossing, or the one where he's crying, where he's like, like, McMahon is in so many goddamn memes. Like I said, he's more famous than the wrestlers, really, almost. He's as big of a character, really, as any of them. And maybe more so, right? I mean, McMahon spanned it all. From Andre the Giant, Hogan, whatever, Bob Backlund, Superstar Billy Graham, to fucking, the Endeavor, TKO, Roman Reigns, fucking Young Rock, right? So, okay, I think this is an interesting aspect of it as well, is the way that The Rock, Roman Reigns, and that family kind of plays into it. These kind of legendary wrestling families, these kind of dynasties. And The Rock specifically, as sort of this super powerful Hollywood celebrity, now that there is sort of this vacuum of power in WWE, and so also sort of a concurrent need to sort of save face, or just sort of stop the bleeding. It's like Triple H is married to Vince McMahon's daughter. And Triple H, Shawn Michaels, those DX guys, they never went. They're dirt bags. I don't know. They're like the popular kids in school that are fucking, like, mean. They're behind the scenes, I'm sure they're fucking pricks. But they're on Vince's side, right? And so who knows what Triple H knows, to be honest. I'm sure he knows a lot. But The Rock, on the other hand, is a different story. He's not really involved in any kind of... He's not implicated, really, in any of that. He stepped away kind of a long time. And like I said, he comes from this kind of dynasty of wrestling. Rikishi, fucking, Haku, his dad... Peter Maivia, whatever, Rocky Johnson. His whole family is like professional wrestlers and shit. And so they have a long history that even predates Vince McMahon, right, with WWF. And so I don't know if he's a fucking shareholder or what, but he's on the board, right? They just appointed The Rock to the board. And so I don't know. It seems to me like it's going to become more of like a Hollywood kind of company, and they will produce it like scripted content, more so. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if Triple H gets pushed out as well. Because at some point it's like, how much do these Hollywood people know about wrestling? Really? This is something that Cornette complains about constantly is all the WWE does is hire these fucking comedy writers that don't know anything about wrestling. They're comedy writers, and so, but they don't know, he knows the business because he was fucking working, for Crockett or whatever, NWA or Mid-South or whoever the fuck it was, since he was like a teenager, And so I think part of it, Cornette to me kind of represents local small business. He's got an accent, he's got a southern accent. The things that are kind of getting erased in the homogenized, massive monopolies of these corporations, where WWE just kind of eliminates all of the regional territories and becomes the kind of Walmart of fucking wrestling, or the Amazon of wrestling, where it's just like, it's really, like McMahon says, he owns his competition. It's like there's no more ECW, there's no more NWA, there's no more. I mean, now there's AEW, I guess. There's always weird kind of house shows, but the territories was really an ecosystem where there was, there was a local economy, and there was a whole culture to it that was like kayfabe. That, it was important that they didn't break kayfabe and stuff like that, and that they maintain the illusion that it was not a work. But like Cornette says, now these guys are just like doing hardcore parkour. And what did he call it? Gymnastics. It wasn't gymnastics. They all have the same body now. They're all kind of lightweight. There's some guys that out there that I've liked over the past 15 or 20 years. I liked Randy Orton. I liked Batista. I never, after CM Punk and that other guy Seth Rollins, that was sort of after. I never really saw Bray Wyatt very much, or that Daniel Bryanson guy. That was kind of after my time. But, it's amazing to me how the culture has accepted John Cena. And how he's like this mainstream kind of fucking movie star now. Because, like, John Cena is kind of cool now that, like, he's on talk shows and shit, and you sort of get to know the guy. But it's like, when John Cena came out, he was pretty fucking lame, to be honest. Like, there's people now, like, in fucking TikTok comments and shit, that are trying to push, like, John Cena's, like, the GOAT. It's like, John Cena's pretty fucking whack. I mean, he's alright. He's alright. Like I said, he's one of that era, the kind of Brock Lesnar, Kurt Angle, Randy Orton, Batista, when they were still kind of roided out, when they were still kind of pushing it. It was Bush era, the wars were on fire, post 9/11. Vince McMahon could still get away with shit. He could still wear a do-rag. There's footage of Vince McMahon saying the N-word. He was pushing the envelope. That's what he liked, and so, like, it's not a surprise to me that his real life is like a more exaggerated version of his wrestling personality, or that there's even like a blurring between the two, or like overlap. That's one of the things that's fascinating about wrestling, and sort of one of the things that is fascinating to it about me. And I think one of the metaphors, why it's a metaphor for our current age, or like, it exists on these two levels where it's like, sometimes you don't know what's real and what's fake, right? And it's almost like a reality show. They use things from reality. Vince McMahon is the boss, right? And I'm sure a lot of the stuff he was using, they like to use real heat. It makes the storylines better sometimes. when they get two guys that are actually pissed at each other, or Miss Elizabeth, or they're jealous, or whatever the fuck it is. Um, and so, we live in this era where, like, we have our online avatars, we have our public performance, or, maybe not gimmicks so much, but, like, uh, it's kind of staged, right? We have a staged uh, reality show that we're kind of living. And the wrestlers, kind of exist on two levels in the same. I don't know. Does that sound stupid? um, I'd like to do wrestling again. I'd like to go back to do backyard wrestling. I think that it's just like it really is a viable art form. And Vince McMahon has had a monopoly on it with his vision of what it's supposed to be, particularly for the last 20 years or whatever since WCW went out of business. But it could be a lot of different things. That's one of the things that's interesting about wrestling is the regionalism. Lucha Libre, New Japan Pro Wrestling, All Japan Pro Wrestling, FMW, like the NXT stuff is pretty interesting. So, I don't know. It seems to me like they'll probably maintain their. All these people are pissed because it's like they're setting up The Rock versus Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. Everybody wants it to be Cody fucking Rhodes. I don't know. I can't even believe I'm talking about this. I've become like a wrestling video podcast. Let me go back to the Proust questionnaire real fast. Then we'll get into more of the sordid details of the Vince McMahon shit. Let me get into the Proust questionnaire. Just kind of level it out with some highbrow shit. Okay. What is the trait you most deplore in yourself? And then the second question, what is the trait you most deplore in others? Okay, so the trait I most deplore in myself. Oh, God. Why does it start with all these negative questions? Fear, deploring yourself. Start with something positive. Did Proust not read the 98 Laws of Power or whatever? Did he not read Robert Greene? How could Proust have possibly written his books without some kind of self-help regimen? How could Proust have written all of that stuff without The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield, or Mastery by or any of the Tony Robbins? I just don't see how they achieved anything without self-help tapes and self-help motivational literature. So what is the trait I most deplore in myself? Well, I wish that I wasn't, I wish that I could be happier for other people's success. I get jealous, like, very easily. That's not a good quality to have. Just, I feel like a lot with a lot of things. It's like I feel like I could be better friends to people. I could spend more time with people. But I also feel like this deficit where, like, I haven't achieved enough. I'm not successful enough. So I have to keep working. What the fuck is going on here? Hold on. Is this playing in this like real weird slow way? And so it's like with money, it's the same thing. It's like I'd like to be more generous with people, but it's like, well, I don't have any money. So I'm very selfish. But I feel like I would be more giving if I had more. In all respects, right? And so it's kind of like a catch-22, where it's like, well, I should be more giving, and then maybe, karmically, I don't know, it would come back or something, but I can't be more giving until I feel like I have until I feel like satisfied, with like okay. Like I don't even feel like I want a lot. I just feel like I wish I had some kind of success, some kind of like notability, a renown. I don't know why. Is that insecurity? Maybe I should just get rid of that. Maybe that's, why is that so loud? Maybe that is like a superficial goal or something. And what is the trait? So yeah, I would say jealousy. You know, selfishness, ego. Uh, and so not being, I'm not good. I'm not as good to people as I'd like to be because just like the logistics of my life are not convenient. I don't have anything to spare. I don't have any money to spare. I can't travel. I have nowhere to live. So it's like I just medicate all day, every day. Okay, so what is the trait I most deplore in others? Most? God. I mean, most. Well, I don't like the way that people who are hyper aggressive get rewarded, I guess, in our society. If you have a huge sense of an entitlement, if you don't have boundaries, if you take up more space, uh, like look at Vince McMahon. It's like, well, on the one hand, it's like he got big ratings. It was the number one show. But on the other hand, like, well, look what he had to do. It's like, well, are they mutually exclusive or does that go hand in hand? Trump, it's the same fucking thing. It's like he's a psycho. He doesn't care about boundaries. He's an ultra capitalist. He's an apex predator, and he got big ratings, and he was the fucking president. And yet, you know, he's an asshole, and he's a bad person. So I guess I just deplore people's bad judgment. That's the trait I deplore most in others. Their bad judgment. Our world should be a flourishing place. We could have, if not a utopia, we could definitely have like a better society. We could have a more functional, more equitable, more comfortable, more enjoyable, more enriching, more nourishing society. It would not be any more difficult than what we've got right now. It's just we are being corralled and brutalized into this system, which victimizes us. And so that's what I deplore. I deplore that people are not smart enough or something. I don't know. They're not using their better judgment. That is a trait. Maybe it's because they're watching wrestling all the time. I mean, this fucking lawsuit, so I'm going to segue back into this. Talk about wrestling for the next 30 minutes. It's just the kind of details that wrestling fans like. That's the titillating, scintillating stuff that people loved. The fact that who was it? Who was the old lady that they showed her boobs? Mae Young or whoever the fuck it was, the fabulous Moolah. She gave birth to like a hand or whatever the fuck it was. Like WWE was always doing really twisted, creepy shit. And McMahon was the one. So, the fact he took a shit on somebody's head. Okay, here's what I'll say about this, okay? I saw this video the other day about Andre the Giant, okay? And this is not the best time to be tuning in, but here we go. So I saw this video about Andre the Giant, and it said that he was drinking Clamato juice and tequila all day before a match. And when he got in the ring, he did like a butt stomp on somebody, and he shat upon his opponent. These wrestlers are nasty fucking people. Does that come as any surprise? I mean, it's only in the last 20 years that it's even become kind of more gender balanced. You know, it's the ultimate like locker room. They're all dirt bags. They're all doing steroids. They're all doing coke. You know, they got guns. They're pulling guns on each other. God knows. I mean, back in the 80s and before that, God knows what kind of shit they were getting into. And so it's amazing that they've kept it under wraps for this long. I predict that McMahon will end up like Harvey Weinstein. It'll be, now he's under federal investigation. Like Harvey Weinstein went to fucking jail, right? And he's going to die in jail. Like, that's probably what they want to do to Vince McMahon, actually. And maybe he deserves it. I mean, he's the ultimate heel. The son of a bitch. You know, there should be you know, the thing is, he is one of the prime engines of why we worship the bad guy in this country. You know, the wrestling thing flipped in the 90s with McMahon and with The Rock and with these charismatic heels, the NWO, the dystopia, and people started to like the anti-hero more than the face, right? They don't, the face, that's like for kids. You know, that's what we like when we're babies. We liked Hulk Hogan ripping his shirt off, but like we're adults now, we're cynical about the workings, and we'll cheat and do whatever we have to do. And it's cool to be bad. It's cool to be bad. And I don't know. I don't know why it is. Why is that cooler? Why is the heel better? Why do, you know, and so the ultimate kind of manifestation of that is Trump, obviously, right? I mean, we need our medicine. We need a TV businessman to go in and fire people. I do think Trump ripped off McMahon's catchphrase. You know, McMahon was firing people all over the USA Network, 1998, 99. And so there was a lot of wrestling techniques and tactics in the whole Trump ascendance that is ongoing. You know, it's a parallel, right? I do think that there probably is some kind of deep state conspiracy to like take these guys out. Like they're gonna do every fucking thing they can to prevent Trump from being president again. And they're gonna do everything they fucking can to put Vince McMahon in jail. Just like they did with fucking Harvey Weinstein. And I mean, if he's under federal investigation, it sounded like some R. Kelly shit to me. You know, it's like, I do think that like the way he was talking about it, first of all, he's old as fuck. So, and he did roids his whole life, and God knows what else, coke and everything. Not to mention getting his fucking head bashed over or whatever the fuck. And so I'm sure he's lost touch with reality a long fucking time ago. Not to mention he's Vincent fucking McMahon. There's few people in our culture that still occupy that kind of dominance and influence over their industry. You know, the WWE was basically his fucking, I mean, empire. It's his kingdom. You know, it's his fiefdom. And so, you know, the way he was talking about these wrestlers and shit, naming the dildos after his wrestlers, it's like, you can tell that he just feels complete ownership over these guys. Oh, I'll get Brock to do it. Send this to Brock. Or Laurinaitis or whatever. I don't know. And the arrangement, first of all, I do want to talk about NDAs, because I don't even know how the fuck these things work. As far as I can tell, they should be illegal. I Googled it, and it said that I think they were probably created, ironically, to protect the victim. It says they were created to prevent details from getting out. You know, so like if there's a sexual harassment lawsuit or something, it's a way of protecting the victim from, you know, having everybody in the fucking world know that Vince McMahon shit on their head. You know, that's the point of the NDA, supposedly. It's not working. It seems to me like the bosses are using it against, you know, like Trump uses MDA to gag people. McMahon is using... So it's basically saying what? If you sign this piece of paper, you cannot say anything about this experience. That seems to me very dubious. I talked about this yesterday, but apparently he paid her $3 million or something. That's what I don't get about it. It's like, it sounded to me like he was like, pimping her out or like sharing, it's like he was like, you're gonna have sex with, Brock now or send it, and it's like, what kind of arrangement did they have? That's what I don't get. It's like he was paying her, like she was like a prisoner. Like with R. Kelly, it's like he fucking basically kept these women prisoner. It kind of sounded like that. It's like she lived in the same fucking building as him. It's like, uh, and this was just recently. This was like this was like 2019. It was during the pandemic. That's how little Vince McMahon cared about the guidelines. Not only was he not doing 6 feet apart, he was taking a shit. He was having threesomes with, Shiza. Shiza threesomes. Vince McMahon, a.k.a. Dirty Sanchez. I don't know. It's insane. It's like it's not, like I said, it's not hard to believe. Anybody that follows wrestling, it's like, yeah, it's like Mar was talking about this thing on his Club Random thing. Not to bring up Club Random, but he was talking about with Club Random, he's trying to bottle like just hanging out with comedians and what they're able to do when they're just hanging out at the diner or whatever. Which, to be honest, is a lot of what I'm trying to do with my vlogs or with this. And you can't, it's like even when you try to write something that's like autobiographical, retelling of something that really happened, it's like there is like sort of a sanitization or things that are left out. And like with wrestling, I think it's like that too. Like McMahon's real life, is not that different than the wrestling stuff, but it's like they could never. It's all a continuation of one performance, right? Even though Vince McMahon is not supposed to be a character, he's the fucking president of the company. He's not supposed to be a wrestler. He wanted to be a wrestler as a kid or whatever, and his dad said, "Fuck off." Like, you're not going to be involved in this business. Because his dad probably knew what would happen. He'd get a lot of guys killed. And sexually exploit people and God knows what. Who knows what the fuck they were doing back in the day with Pat Patterson and Briscoe and the Stooges. Who the fuck knows what the hell they were doing? Scat play. But, I mean, he's done. He's 80 years old. It's like he already lived it. He already fucking juiced as much as he could out of it, He got the whole fucking span out of it. He's just another of that era who won't let go, right? He was ruining the company. So in a way, they have to fucking Me Too his ass just to get him the fuck out of there. He'll never leave. He would never relinquish control of that company. So I think to some degree, not to be conspiratorial about it, but like it was just bought by this big fucking Hollywood company. They got to wash their hands of this guy. They know how it works with these fucking slime balls. And that's not the way the business is anymore. They just want the audience. They want the brand and they want the format. Because it's huge in this fucking country. Because people in this country are animals. They've been, miseducated and mismanaged. Their brains have been mismanaged with great skill. And so we love wrestling. But, I mean, yeah, Vince McMahon, someday there will be a fucking story about it. I don't know. Like I said, it's the end of his fucking career. So it's like, is this really like some huge fall from grace? It's like he was on his goddamn way out. Anyway, but all right, let me get another Proust questionnaire question. I'm doing the Proust questionnaire. I'm balancing it with Vince McMahon, unpacking the. I didn't read the 67-page, you know, detail. Okay, what is your greatest extravagance? What is my greatest extravagance, and what is my current state of mind? Well, now that I'm 39 and I'm still broke as a fucking joke, and there really is no literal extravagance in my life. I would say my greatest extravagance is God. Well, I mean, in one sense, it's definitely smoking weed. Like no question, I guess, because it is like something I do chronically. No pun intended. But in another sense, I would say my greatest extravagance is just like I said, kind of solipsism, spending time alone, selfish, self absorption, self absorption, or I don't know. I mean, just having free time. You know, I may not be a rich man monetarily, but I have, I mean, I've spent a lot of my life, is particularly the last 15 years, when I had free will and agency, with basically just in free time, trying to have as much free time as possible, and soak in New York City, soak in as much of the landscape, notate it, secrete notations, share my thoughts with the world. Maybe my vlog is my greatest extravagance. Cut everything I just said. Vlogging, live streaming is my greatest extravagance, definitely. I've thrown so much time and energy into this for nothing. It's all hyper narcissism. So my greatest extravagance, I don't know. It's also gluten-free snacks, definitely. But yeah, I don't really spend money on anything. I'm afraid to spend money. I'm afraid if I spend money, they'll take New York away from me. Not that I'm necessarily getting anything out of it anymore, but well, I am. I mean, it's still the greatest place in the world. I think I haven't really been 99% of places, but based on the empirical evidence I have gathered, it's pretty good. So anyway, yeah, my greatest extravagance. Also, books. Definitely books. That hasn't changed. My library is definitely my greatest extravagance. Moving this fucking library from house to house, moving it 8 times in the last 5 years, carrying all these fucking books. For what? For fucking what? And then TikTok as well. Just liquidating my free time and melting my frontal lobe on TikTok. Okay, then the second question, what is my current state of mind? My current state of mind is, I'm a little bit sad to be getting older, honestly. I feel like a loser. I feel like unsure about what the next big. I need like a kind of like big project that kind of like I need like a breakthrough, like something that kind of summarizes in something that's I need a product. Like I'm proud of all the work that I've done, and I wish it did get more attention. I'm proud of it. I'm proud of my chapbooks. I'm proud of my readings. I'm proud of my vlog. I'm proud of my musical life. I'm proud of my relationships, blah, blah, blah. But, I just feel like we're in this moment. The election's coming. These wars are sort of starting to happen. We're done with the pandemic. So whatever, wave that was, so it's like we're kind of in this weird calm after that huge wave, and it's like it's kind of hard to know what the fuck is next. And so that's like kind of my current state of mind. It's like I'm pretty I'm pretty happy, to be honest. I think the Biden years have been kind of like a calm, uh, even as like things are getting more expensive and it's getting increasingly untenable to alive and kind of suffocating and stressful in that way. It has also been kind of like a little bit of a relief after the Trump thing and like there's we did get a surplus for a second, even though it's all kind of dispersed and it's coming back to bite us in the ass now, because of fake economic bullshit. But yeah, so I guess I'm just like, I'm happy with what I'm doing, but I'm also like, I need to figure out what's next, what's a bigger thing, how do I break through, how do I get any kind of footing, how do I get money, how do I get ownership of anything. So it's like my state of mind is it's I'm fine. Everything's cool, but it's also like, like 2023 was a good year, you know. It was a great year in a lot of ways, but it was kind of like a slow and steady great year. It wasn't like, holy shit, this is the greatest fucking thing that's ever happened to me and all these fireworks of excitement. It's just like, okay, a lot of fun things happened, and it was good energy, not that much bad stuff happened. So, if any. So, but it's also just like, okay, how do we maintain, how do we increase the happiness and the peace? Is that what's coming? What is coming? So I guess, yeah, my state of mind is uh searching, anticipating, holding still, strategizing, uh always working on things. That's why I do this, because I'm trying to just share everything that I thought for the past fucking 2 days. All right, let's do some more quiz questionnaire. What do you consider the most overrated virtue? And on what occasion do you lie? What do I consider the most overrated virtue, and on what occasion do I lie? The most overrated virtue, um, being tall. Yeah, I don't know. Virtue, overrated virtue. I don't know. I mean, I think that people misjudge things, and life is like a game of telephone. The thing about the game of telephone is it's not just that game. Everything in life works that way. We are misinterpreting literally everything all of the fucking time. And a lot of times that works in our favor. Somebody might take something that you said and make it better and remember it that way and be like, "Oh, yeah, I said this pretty smart thing." It's like, I didn't say that. But they heard it. They fixed it. And so I think, people that might appear virtuous or be given credit for doing something virtuous, a lot of times they're getting credit for something that maybe they're not doing, or it just appears. Um, I'll tell you what I've been thinking about recently is productive generosity. I don't want to talk shit about virtues. Why would I want to slander any kind of virtue? I mean, I do want to talk about productive generosity, because I think that's kind of a good goal. Productive generosity, creating, uh, as much wealth for as many people as possible. I saw somewhere, I'm ashamed to say this, but something popped up in my TikTok feed. You don't have control over it, okay? It's all random, based on the algorithm, which apparently reads our, inmost psyche. It said the most attractive trait to women is when you demonstrate productive generosity. As a man, the most appealing, attractive kind of genetic trait or whatever you can demonstrate is productive generosity. I thought that was kind of interesting. I'm not sure if I believe that or what that means exactly, but that doesn't sound too bad if it's true. Theoretically, if you're a paterfamilias, I guess, type guy with a lot of resources who can take care of a lot of and be a good father figure or something, maybe that's attractive, right? Isn't that what's supposed to be attractive? I don't know. Productive generosity. So that's maybe a good virtue to think about. Overrated virtue. I don't know. I mean, what is a virtue in our culture at all, even? I don't like, because I don't necessarily feel like I don't like guys who get, uh, uh, credit because they seem like, they're good dudes or like they're, I don't know, when I think of like John C. Riley, I don't know. For some reason, I just don't like that guy. I'm just like, whatever virtue that guy has, that like, oh, this is a good guy. John C. Riley. Nick Offerman is sort of like a lower brand John C. Riley, where it's like they're kind of, I don't know. There's something about them that's like old fashioned or something, but they're like, maybe they demonstrate productive generosity. They're good, like they're guys who like, I don't know. When it comes to masculinity, there's a certain kind of like, you're supposed to be like a protector or something. Uh, and you're supposed to like, I don't know. And like, it's not that I don't want to do that, but I think like the white knight thing, especially now. I mean, God, if you want to talk about virtue signaling, the most overrated virtue is virtue signaling. It's like there's a lot of people who want to be white knights, who want to like step in and be like, whoa, you were like harming this, you know, and I don't know. I do think that there is a lot of like virtue signaling like that, where it's like, okay, people, especially white people, have been trained to feel guilty and like they're supposed to be good people, they're supposed to do the right thing. And I just don't know that when comes to shove, they actually would. They are probably selfish. The way that they live their whole life is selfish. I think. I don't know. You know, I mean, so a lot of the kind of performative virtue, I guess, maybe, would be something that's like overrated. But I don't want to go all Bill Maher and talk about that the whole time. So anyway, let's go to the next question. We're doing the Proust questionnaire here. You can play along at home. Google it, Proust questionnaire. It's something I like to do every few years to just kind of like, it's a way, it's almost like measuring your height on the doorway. You can see where you're at in life, like your current state of mind. I don't know what my current state of mind last time I answered that was. I don't think I've done this probably in like 10 years or something. So it's my, I'm doing my checkup here, my intellectual checkup, my Proust questionnaire. All right, so what's next? Oh, yeah, on what occasion do you lie? And then what do you dislike most about your appearance? What occasion do I lie? God. I mean, these questions seem like not interesting at all now. Like, there's a million way. I would have to lie to. I'm gonna lie to make this question more interesting. Because I mean, of course, like anybody, you lie, little white lies, or when you're caught like in a fucking, your work's late or you fuck something up with your job. I would lie about that. And it's like fake it till you make it. A lot of times you just have to like keep your poker face and just they won't call your bluff. A lot of life is like that. It's like it's not necessarily a lie. I mean, I'm not a liar. I think that anybody who knows my work would know that. It's like I'm an extremely non-fiction based person. So it's like uh, even in my work, I don't really lie. I report everything as it actually happened in great detail to the best of my ability. That's like my goal. So like I guess, financially. If somebody like pins me about something financially, then I might lie. Like I lied recently, I think, about something. Um what the hell was it? I don't know, some kind of financially thing. I think, once again, it's like they try to teach us that we have to have morals and we can't lie or this or that and like I don't know. These things are tools. If you want to fuck, lie on your uh to the government, I think that's good. Like there's certain times when lying I wouldn't do it, but okay, and what do I dislike most about my appearance? Oh my god. I mean, this is well, okay, I'm going to answer this one in great detail. It's a good thing I did this live online. I don't like the way that my nose and my forehead like just like go straight down like this. Um I don't like my profile from this side. Uh my nose looks kind of weird from that angle for some reason. Like this side of my face kind of looks weird. Uh I don't like my stomach. I got kind of a little bit of. I've never had a six pack, ever. Even though I used to do crunches, kind of. I've never had a six pack. So I'm not like necessarily hugely out of shape or anything, but dad bod. Dad bod became sexy, and so it kind of encouraged you to just kind of let yourself go a little bit. So I've got a little bit of a sexual spare tire. That is frankly probably the hottest thing about me. But I mean, let's be honest. I mean, the thing I don't, okay, I wouldn't say this because honestly, I am very, very hugely comfortable with how tall I am. And I mean that sincerely. I love my body. I love my proportion. I love my size. I think it's magnificent. I think I'm a beautiful human being. And I don't mean that like in a narcissistic way. I'm very lucky. I'm blessed. I'm grateful. I'm showing gratitude. What drives me insane is that the world doesn't appreciate it. So it's not something that I dislike about my appearance, but it's something that, let's say, a certain part of society doesn't value, uh, or maybe they overvalue. That's why I talk about it so much because it just seems to me like an insanely dumb thing to prioritize in choosing a human being you want to spend your life with, how tall they are. So it's something I don't care about. I love how tall I am. But society, I think, is underwhelmed. They judge you accordingly. They judge you. It's like, I saw in the TikTok comments, Wilfie and Neil. Somebody had a TikTok video about how Wilfie and Neil is the best place to go if you're single to meet somebody. And the people in the comments were like, ew, everybody's short there. Huge, gross. Don't go there. Everybody's short. It's like, okay. All right, let's try this. Which living person do you most despise? And what is the quality you most like in a man? I think it is gendered. I think it's meant to be gendered. Okay, so which living person do I most despise? And I'm going to disqualify Trump because it's obviously the obvious answer. I don't. I mean, obviously, most some kind of financial person probably. Maybe Elon Musk. I mean, it's got to be Elon Musk, Zuckerberg, any of the above. You know, I've been seeing some Bezos videos. I kind of like Bezos. I kind of get why Bezos is rich. When you watch Bezos videos, you're like, this dude is smart. He figured this shit out. With Elon Musk and Zuckerberg, you're just like, Elon Musk is just a douchebag who's like, he is like a poster boy for capital. They need somebody to put a face on all the fucking stocks and shit. Zuckerberg is a stalker, basically, who fucking built a stalking machine, and we're all stalkers. So he's a total fucking creep, like the Radiohead anthem of the era, the song of the era. Maybe I'll go into creep. Should I lecture on creep? Creep is like this weird phenomena of our era. You know, like certain songs take on that kind of stature, like Hallelujah or whatever. But creep is a perennial. And I do think it's kind of like the anthem of the face. I mean, that's why it was in the movie, right? The Facebook movie. Is it's like, yeah, we're all on the wall wishing we were, you know, not losers, wishing we were sexier, wishing we were, you know, it's like that meme where it's like they don't know that I'm live streaming. Hold on, let me change my video. I have to change my video real fast. Should we use some Vince McMahon stuff? See, I've been researching for my Vince McMahon discussion. Oh, don't take me to my fucking... No, I don't need that. Sorry, don't go anywhere. What was I just talking about? Okay, let me just put on a vlog. Let me do 1 year ago. I'm gonna put on 1 year ago. This is the vlog from 1 year ago. Just so we can see where we were and how we've aged. Okay, here we go. Coin roll, January 30th to February 4th. So this is, you know, I still had the apartment a year ago. I'm still living the fucking high life. Before I was dashed back to the bottom where I belong. Alright, so which living person do I most despise? Yeah, I mean, it's got to be Elon Musk just because he's in the fucking newspaper every goddamn day. It's just like headlines every fucking day with this guy. And I do think that he's like a Nazi and he is going to appreciate as a douchebag. His evil villain status is only going to like go up, I think. I don't know, but maybe it's BlackRock. Maybe Cheney, probably Cheney, maybe. Dick Cheney is still alive somehow, defying all the odds. You know, Bush should also be dead. Somehow these guys are still alive and not in prison. They should be like in Guantanamo. Put Bush in Guantanamo. That's my platform. Vote for me. I will put Dick Cheney in Abu Ghraib. We will do the Abu Ghraib thing to Dick Cheney. Vote for me. So yeah, that's what I was doing a year ago. Is Rumsfeld still alive? Dig him up. Put him in Abu Ghraib. These fucking bastards. Yeah, any of the Bush people, to be honest. They're among the ones I despise the most. But, I mean, Netanyahu, maybe. Les Wexner. Mitch McConnell is definitely up there. No question. Mitch McConnell has probably done more to fuck this country up than just about anybody. Oh yeah, this is when I was wearing this jacket. I was going through my Little Prince ego phase. Huge. This was my last burst. I knew that I had to live it up before I was ejected from that apartment. I knew that I just had to get everything out of it I possibly could. Yeah. So, what is the quality I most like in a man? In a man, what's the quality that you most like in a man? In a man, in a man, the quality I most like is weakness. I like people, men. I like, every once in a while you'll meet one who is like, I don't know, fun and there's a kind of a softness and openness. Uh, like a Muppet quality. I like a strong Muppet quality in a man. I mean, I think this could be looked at as a question about masculinity, and I think there's a lot of different ways that you can celebrate masculinity and admire it, but there's a lot of different attitudes toward that. I think in our culture, the man is supposed to be this kind of brute force, dumbed down, but it's like, I don't know. I like style. A man with a sense of with like a deep sense of like poetry, like and creativity. I like people that sympathize with the underclass, the underdog, people who go out of their way. One of my friends, and this was not a man, but one of the things that impressed me most about a poet that I knew was I remember going to a reading before they knew me, and they were sitting at a table with a bunch of people who I wouldn't say had like high social status. It was just like they were sitting at a table. The people were like older, you know, and I was like, that I admire. I admire somebody who is quote unquote high value, who does not behave in that way. I like people who are salt of the earth, who just like, don't have an ego. They're kind. They'll get down in the trenches with you. But it's also good if they're fucking exceptional people. People who are super talented, people who are super smart, but also have humility and also consider themselves to just be one of, I don't know. I do think that it is like a crucible and like a cross in my life to associate or to celebrate like suffering or poverty or being an underdog or being kind of on the bottom or something, because that's where most people are, I guess. And so, I don't know. There's a certain quality where like Bob Dylan is somebody who is sort of like a good example of this, who like has achieved like basically anything you'd ever want to achieve and is super famous and blah blah blah. And yet, what does he do for fun? He puts his hoodie on and he goes walking through like bad neighborhoods and shit. It's like that is a quality that I admire. Somebody that is that respectable, but also they still just kind of want to be a normal person, or they want to be at the cookout. They want to fucking spend time with the family. They want to fucking go to the childhood home of fucking so and so, or they get caught in New Jersey with no fucking driver's license or whatever. It's like I think that that's kind of an admirable quality. To maintain, because I feel that way, even though I'm not, you know, uh, a celebrity or anything. You know, that's one of the reasons why I like doing video, right? Because it's like a job, and it's a workman-like thing where I'm anonymous. You know, it's like I'm serving this other thing. I go, I get the equipment, I get the boxes, I get the tripod, I get the camera. You know, I go, I set it all up, I set the wires up, I get the card, the computer, the tripod, you know, and it's like I'm not on the camera. You know, it's not about me. It's like how Andy Kaufman, you know, when Andy Kaufman was on Taxi, he still was a busboy. He still worked as a busboy at, you know, Cantor's or some shit. And it's like, I wouldn't do that. I mean, fuck being a busboy, but I think there's something to be said for having something that kind of like levels it out. And you're not just, you know, courtside or whatever the fuck it is, or in the country club or in some kind of highfalutin, rarefied company. I don't know if that's the most fucking admirable trait, but in a man, the most admirable trait in a man. I don't know. Sometimes you meet guys or whoever, and they just give you like a warm feeling. You know, they're friendly but strong. I like friendliness. I know that's not a popular trait, or I don't know. There's a difference between being sort of fakely nice and being kind that people like to remind me of. But I like fake kindness. It makes me feel comfortable. Like John Candy. There's nothing wrong with that. Whatever qualities John Candy has, that's the quality I most like in a man. John Candy, his kind of warm affability. The world used to be, you know, here's a quality I like in a man. Okay, this is an old fucking school way of doing things. Kuzu Daddy was telling me he went to this restaurant recently in Dumbo. Nice restaurant. And I think he was late. I think they were late for their reservation, so they missed their table or something. I think that's what the story was. And so they put him at this, like, table that was, like, facing a wall or some shit. You know, like, they put him at, like, a bad table. And so Kuzu Daddy slipped the guy $50. You know, he put $50 in his fucking palm. He shook his hand and he slipped him $50. I mean, I'd like to be the kind of person who does shit like that. I think that kind of stuff does have like a human quality that's getting lost. You know, there's like an old world way of doing things. You know, not that bribing people is good or that greasing people's palms is good. But I don't, it's like winking. You know, there's something charming and like magical about winking. And nobody does it anymore. It's kind of this lost, like say, here's $50. And so he gave him $50. They gave him this incredible table and they brought him all this free food. They cut their bill down by like, you know, $100 or something. It was like, Jesus Christ, just because he slipped him $50, that's insane. And so I don't know. Is that an admirable quality? I kind of like that quality. Whatever the fuck that is. That old school, you know, some guys have got that way of doing things. I'd like to be that kind of person. I know that I'm not, but I'd like to be. I'd like to be the kind of person that's like, "Hey, I'll buy you a chocolate donut and a coffee from the bodega." Just because. Just to be nice. You know, like, I do wish we lived in a world with more of that. With more, like, you know what? I'm going to pick up the check. Or, you know what? I'll buy your fucking... It's just everything's so expensive and we're so poor. So, we can't. All right. So, anyway, we're going to continue on. More Proust questionnaire. Look, there it was 1 year ago. Okay. Which quality do you most like in a woman? Oh, this will be interesting. It's highly gendered. This Proust questionnaire. It's highly gendered. Which quality do you most like in a they, them? Which words or phrases do you most overuse? Okay, so quality I most like in a woman. Oh, Jesus Christ. Let's just talk about, like, in a platonic way, shall we? We'll just talk platonically, okay? Uh, we won't get into anything I mean, you know, to be on, or maybe I'll even speak generally. It is like astonishing to me, uh, and not to generalize, but certain women I know, just like how smart they are, how they can organize their mind and just whip things up. Like, like Ashley fucking puts out a Substack every week. She writes poems. She writes short stories. She makes fucking TikTok videos. She sends me a million text messages. She's in school. It's like, how the fuck do you do all this stuff? How do you, uh, or like other women I've known have been like that too, where it's just like, how, it's like their phone is like a magic wand and they can just call amazing things up. Like uh, the things that certain women, to be honest, the trait I like most in a woman is if she's a good writer. I know that sounds fucked up, but it's true. It's insanely true. The only fucking thing I care about in a woman, well, not the only thing. Not the only thing, okay? Not the only thing. I'm not going to be that sexist about it. But the number one thing that I care about in a woman, all right? Number one in my women is are they a good writer? Is that fucked up? That's my kink. My kink is having women write poems directly to me and reading them at open mics. I think everybody knows that. I think that's all of our kinks. I think we're well aware. That's what this is about. We're all just trading public praise, public odes. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing better than like having a tremendously talented genius being their muse. Ashley called me her muse. I guess that's karma. That's the roles reversed. That's my lot in life, okay? I'll never be F. Scott Fitzgerald. I'll be Zelda Fitzgerald. And that's fine. Okay? That's okay. I'm happy to be the muse, I guess. Whatever. However I can serve the gods of art. And so, yeah, I don't. Well, okay, maybe I'll broaden that out. I mean, although that is true, my number one quality in a woman is if she's a good writer or not, or just like, I don't know. They have to be. First of all, it's a lot of fucking things. Now I'm talking about dating. Before I was just talking, as people, I don't know. Women can do whatever the fuck they want. Who am I to say that's my favorite thing about them? Let them do whatever they want. I don't know. My favorite thing about women is when they keep their I don't know. There's a million sexist jokes I could make there that I'm not going to because it's 2024, okay, and we're trying to do better. So, what trait do I most admire in a woman? Well, yeah, I mean, I love it. Well, okay, let's say that I'm like Mark Ronson and I'm sapiosexual. Let's just say you're attracted to intelligence. But it's like, it's more than that. It's a sense of beauty. You need somebody that can create with you. You need somebody that can create life and create moments and take you places. And that's magic, right? That's chemistry. When somebody can write a script with you, when somebody can go tit for tat with you, when somebody can surprise you, right? And you learn from them and they open up a whole new world to you. These are the traits I look for, in a woman. Uh, somebody that can, so it's like surprise you and open up, but who's complimentary, and who like you understand maybe, but who's bringing you like a whole new way of understanding, I guess. So yeah, I don't know. There's like a substantiality to that. Somebody that's well-rounded in all those respects. Somebody who can dance. Somebody who has fucking good sense of style. Um, women are strong. It's a one of the worst things about being born when I was born is we were brought up with so many bad misconceptions about what women are in particular, about women being weak or dumb or you know, lesser, or they can't do this or they can't do that. I mean, it's completely fucking insane that, it wasn't that long ago that there were these uh, judgments and subjugation and so I mean, I think in a lot of ways, not to judge or to put value on it, but to be honest, I do think in a lot of ways women are superior, and that's why they are running shit now. Like I said, they're more organized. They're more capable. They can send messages. They can communicate better. They can work in groups better. They're fast. They're not hampered by insecurity and neurotic doubt like we are necessarily. I mean, I'm sure they are, but uh, one of the things that I admire in women is like, but also it's not like me and it's kind of frustrating to me is like they're not like competitiveness, but like they want to be challenged, or like if they some of them sometimes want to be challenged, and so like if that can drive, like if you do something, they're gonna fucking come at, they're not necessarily gonna be like a lot of guys and be like quit or sour grapes or think they're not good enough or be shy or like I said insecure, low self-esteem. A lot of women, or at least millennials or whatever, like they are competitive and they're gonna beat you. They want you to get up at the open mic and like have to hold their own and like show who they are, you know? And it isn't necessarily about getting attention. It's about, I don't know, just doing the thing, doing what you're here to do. So, I don't know. I gotta say, if you watch my live stream regularly, it probably does seem like I have a pretty, like, I'm down on women, like, or like I'm constantly like, nitpicking women's like choices or something, and it's like I'm only doing that because the point of my live stream is to like address issues in the culture that I feel like need correcting, and like I'm noticing them and I'm complaining about them so other people can relate maybe. And so I actually have a very high opinion of women, and like I think they are fucking superior. Not that they want to be put on a pedestal or anything, but the past few years, I think the division between the genders has gotten much worse, and so you know, that's been frustrating. So it would be nice. I don't know. I should probably make more of a point to say positive things about women more often, because it probably can seem like I do just like come down on women a lot or something. All right. Which words or phrases do you most overuse? Which words or phrases do you most overuse? And what or who is the greatest love of your life? Oh my God. Okay. Which words or phrases do I most overuse? First of all, let me get some. Oh, I wish I had a good answer to this, because I'm sure there is a fucking good answer to this. Make some noise. I definitely say make some noise all the fucking time on stage. Give it up. Give it up for this person. Give it up for this person's amazing. I definitely say the word amazing, like usually. Usually when I'm like trying to compliment something or like say something positive, I'll say it's amazing. Um, Fuck. I'm sure that there's like a million good answers for this. Things that, little memes, little sound bites, little sort of audio clips that are always going through your head. The ways that you respond to things, almost like little mental sound effects, or like you remember E-Bomb's World. It's almost like you have a soundboard in your head of just like the little clips from movies or whatever, things that you remember that sort of are your responses to different situations. That's the kind of stuff that like is like my automatic response, I would say. That's like the most overused stuff that I would notice myself using. I'm trying to think of an example. I'm terrible at thinking of examples, particularly when I've got four people watching. Oh my god. What am I going to do? How am I going to maintain these huge ratings? I better do something spectacular. What would Vince McMahon do? What would Dirty Sanchez do to keep these ratings and to blow them the hell up, to defeat Ted Turner in the Monday Night Wars? What the hell is a word or phrase I most... Okay, well, let me go to the next question. Maybe I'll think of something. Maybe they'll knock something loose. Who or what is the greatest love of your life? First of all, I'm not going to answer this question because it's too personal. But I will give an answer of sorts. Who or what is the greatest love of my life? I think you can love certain people so much that it ruins you. I think certain people, if you meet them, the experience can be too intense and you never can recover. Or I don't know. I guess maybe you should let things in the past go. But, I mean, certain people, decades later, they don't let things go. And so, I don't know. Certain things, you just kind of, you bond with people so hotly. You kind of are soldered. You're forged. And so, I don't know. Who or what is the greatest love of my life? Now, at the age of 39, the greatest love of my life. I'm definitely going to say something cheesy like poetry. Because, I don't know. Love of your life. I just don't think it would be fair to pick any one person publicly. I honor and celebrate and cherish all of the people. I think that's one of the things that's exciting about living in the current era is you get to know a lot of people. As trashy as that sounds. I like, getting to know people and meeting people. And so, the greatest love of my life, definitely my Pilot G2s. My notebooks. That's been the most intimate, long-standing, personal, monogamous, committed relationship I'd say I've had. Maybe I don't know. I guess if I go back to, there's definitely a lot of people who have been very, very important to me. And I kind of get distracted by relationships, but I think relationships are their own kind of like work and not achievement, but like work and like a work of art or like a work of they're just necessary. They're necessary as like part of the experience and part of the body of who you are and what you're creating. Getting to know certain people and going deep with them, spending tons of time with them, living with them, doing everything with them, eating with them. It's like that kind of stuff I think is like the deepest collaboration, partnership, apprenticeship, whatever, cultural, banding together, and as artists, I think that's exciting and very hot to be in a power couple or whatever, to like be married to or dating or whatever another artist. I think that's, yeah, that's, yes, you should do that. Fuck anybody. Fuck the civilians. Or like if you want to date a scientist or something, or an anthropology professor or something, I don't know. But to me, I think poets getting married is very sexy. And I mean, especially with poetry. I mean, poetry, the inspiration, the muse, right, is romantic. It is yearning. It is love, right? You're writing a love poem to woo somebody, to win their affection, to seduce them, sort of. Um, and so you want to do a good job. And that's, if that's what my life has really added up to, like the last 10, 15 years in New York have made my life completely worthwhile, because I've had these incredible lyrical adventures and relationships with people that have played out across this incredible backdrop, of these bars and this city and this skyline and these bridges and this river and Williamsburg and whatever the fuck, Park Slope, Gowanus. And so, meeting somebody, falling in love, wondering, oh, what's going on? Do they love me? Who are they with? What are they doing? Are they writing about me? And then you go to the open mic and they read their piece and you read your piece, and maybe there's something in it about you and vice versa. It's like, it could not get any better than that. As far as I'm concerned, you could not get any better than that in life, period. You can't, what else can you do that in? Maybe music? You can't do that in stand-up comedy. What, are you going to get up and tell jokes about the other person? That'd be disgusting. In poetry, you get up, you write this beautiful poem, you show the other person how magical fucking genius you are, and that just, it pulls something deeper out of you into them. And I don't know, I think we are saving the world. I think, if we can get dozens of poets in New York, like the Bel Shem Tov, that are fully aware and pinging off each other and holding each other in place and having sex and making magic and writing about each other and creating great masterpieces, then what else could be better than that? I mean, what could be more of a fuller, emanating kind of energetic field and example for this dead world? There needs to be kind of golden light and warmth. It's cast out into this gray, dehydrated forest of dead trees. We were at the Algonquin. That's what we were doing a year ago. We were at the Algonquin. Okay. When and where were you happiest? And which talent would you most like to have? Okay. So, I don't know. When and where was I happiest? I think this is a bad question again. I think, there's only the now. And I'd have to say right now, based on my Eckhart Tolle things that I've learned, it's right now. But when and where was I happiest? There's been a lot of different flavors of happiness over the years in my life, but I gotta say, I mean, to some degree, the summer of 2012, 2013, 14, when things were really wild, that there was a kind of, before I like really settled down in Brooklyn and like, oh, this was the night Ashley threw up. Oh my God, look. Yeah, so that was a, I don't think that era, I don't know, who knows if that'll happen again. The Slooge, that was happy time. There was a lot of happy times. 2017, 18, 19, happy. When I was studying at BHQFU and Poetry project in 2017. That was a pretty good time. Winter 2017 before. Well, yeah. So I don't know. The 21 and 22 when I had that apartment and all that fucking money and the open mic was just starting. That was definitely one of the happiest times of my life. You know, more good times. You know, it's about how can we keep having great feeling? How can we keep making great work, having moments of greatness, living in kind of an igloo of greatness. What was the other question? Should I talk more about Vince McMahon shitting on somebody? I mean, okay, which talent would you most like to have? And if you could change one thing about yourself, what would it be? Which talent would I most like to have? I mean, I'd like to have a better singing voice, definitely. I'd like it if women liked me. That'd be nice. I wish I knew how to communicate with women just like naturally, rather than like I'm. It's like women are allergic to me. They'll talk to me literally for like 15 seconds and be like, I got to get away from this guy and never talk to him again. That's not fun. That's not a fun. So, yeah, I don't know if that's a talent or not. Which talent would I most like to have? Yeah, I'd like to have a better singing voice. Uh, I'd like to, it would be good for me to have the talent to, like, just, like, accomplish things. You know, in golf, they call it, like, scoring, right? Like, you can have all the pieces, right? You can be good at hitting a drive or putting or chipping. But if you can't bring all this stuff together through one hole in the next hole, in the next hole, and have all of that stuff firing, you're not good at scoring, right? So you might have all the tools. And that's kind of how I feel like with my life. That's how I was in golf. It's like, I was kind of good, or like I should have been kind of good. There was no reason why I shouldn't have been better at golf. But I just wasn't good at scoring. I wasn't good at putting it all together. And that's kind of how my life feels. It feels like like I'm kind of good at this, I'm kind of good at that, I'm kind of good at this, I'm kind of good at that, I'm kind of good at this. And I try to like put it into this cohesive thing through like YouTube and the zines and live and whatever. But it's just some double bogey ass golf. It's some real double, it's like I shot 108 somehow. Or 100. So maybe that's a talent I'd like to have. I mean, that's like the aspect of this question is like, this is supposing, well, what talents do I have? I definitely like to be better at writing. But I don't know if there's any writers that I'm like, oh, I wish I could be that good. Like, I wish that I could write poems that people fucking like cried over. I wish I could write poems that just like everybody thought were like the fucking Beatles songs or something. I wish I could write poems. That's a talent I'd like to have. I'd like to write poems that will save the planet. That will change humanity's mind about everything and express the kind of beauty heretofore unknown to humankind. That's the talent I'd like to have. I'd like to be like a total artist, humanitarian, president, civilian, like who I'm a filmmaker, musician, poet, actor, etc., stand-up comedian, pro wrestler, vlogger, live streamer, gardener, family man, father, husband, neighbor, grandfather, son, grandson, cousin, reader, um, letter to the editor, advice columnist, um, executive producer. Yeah, that's how I see. Public figure, like national treasure. Okay, I'd like to be a national treasure, basically, like Nicolas Cage. All right, what else? If you could change one thing about yourself, what would it be? Oh my God. Why is Proust so fucking uh dysmorphic? It's like everything is like, what do you hate about yourself? What do you dislike about other people? What would you change about yourself? Like you'd want to change like just one thing though. Just pick one. If I could change one thing, was it about my appearance or is it about what is it about? If I could, is it about? Let me check. I gotta look one more time. Proust, come on, buddy. Change one thing about yourself. Okay, so it's not appearance really. Um, change one thing about myself. God, you know, uh, I talked about this earlier. Just like I'd like to be more giving for people and more selfless, and I'd like to have more resources to be able to do that. Productive generosity. I'd like to be, you know, if I had extra, I would definitely give it to other people. I could do a lot more for people if I was rich. I'd be like fucking Mr. Beast, only like uh, ethical and not just like a bunch of stunts and gimmicks. It's like how can we help people become artists and turn on and blah blah blah. So if I could change one thing about myself, is that was the question? If I could change one thing about myself, I'd like to fix my teeth. Um, I'd like to get my shit together, whatever that means. Uh, I'd like to have an apartment. I'd change that about myself in Manhattan, downtown, ideally. Although this congestion pricing is a real pain in the ass. Uh, I don't know. It's not me. It's them. I wouldn't change me. I don't know. I'd see my family more. I'd be better at texting people back. I'd be better at responding to things. One thing I would change about myself is I would have more confidence. Like I could do 10 times what I'm doing on stage. I haven't really begun to tap in to uh like the real creativity yet. I'm still in fear and like shyness and like uh improvising. I don't know. I wouldn't know that I would change that about myself. People would probably criticize my method because I don't rehearse or I don't revise that much or I'm not that good at preparing. In my mind, I'm thinking about it like jazz guys. It's like they don't rehearse; they rehearse on stage and they improvise and they. So I don't know that I would be like more disciplined, or anything. Uh, like I would like to be able to pull things together more, and but I also am happy with the way that I've found to just sort of like let things fall where they may artistically, and so I don't know. I don't know that there is something that I'm like, oh, I would change this about myself. That sounds like insecure. To me, I want to change the world. I want to change everything else because I feel right, and I feel like everything else is wrong. So I would change the fact that people respond to the dumbest shit. I would change the fact that the WWE is the biggest fucking company, or people like stupid ass jokes on stage. They like lowest common denominator, simple shit. You know, I would make. I heard an interesting the other day is like, you know, the intelligent, sophisticated audience is still in the United States. It's just now they're surrounded by a dumb audience, and maybe that's true. I don't know. I wish that people just accepted what I'm doing as it is, but maybe I'm lazy. Maybe that's what I would change. Not being so lazy. I would definitely have a dab rig. That's one thing I would change. What do you consider your greatest achievement? If you were to die, okay, what do I consider my greatest achievement? God. Um, I think I have had a lot of effect on a lot of people's lives over the years, particularly over the last 10 years. But I also feel like I feel like they might not have good feelings about me. You know, people get excited in the beginning, but then at a certain point they decide that like I'm a douchebag or I'm a narcissist or I don't spend enough time with them or I'm just using them or this or that. And you know, I don't know that that's an achievement. I don't know that I have anything else to look to. You know, I to be honest, I'm proud of my vlog. I know that that's fucking. You know, you're supposed to have like human, like nice, like good person answers to this. Like, oh, my greatest achievement is my family, my relationship with my family. You know, that's why I say like people. I don't. I do feel like I've had an effect on a lot of people, and I've helped people. You know, find a process or a place to express themselves. I think that's an achievement. I did win a fucking award for my scenes from a life. That's kind of an achievement. I won the free speech award. So maybe that. You know, I can't be like, oh, fucking, you know, so and so published my poem, or you know, I won this contest, or I got to read at this thing. You know, I mean, there's a million things. Like I'm proud of all my books. You know, like my travel books, my pandemic book, my chat books, my zines. I think all that stuff is like uh, my greatest achievement. You know, if I have to like conceptualize and like crystallize the achievement, I would say, you know, it's the scenes from a life with the zines, with my books, with like my live performances, and just like the effect with the music that that may have had in Brooklyn or on certain people's lives. You know, the Slooge, playing with System Lord or Wavetable, and then Easy Paradise, and the open mics. You know, that I would say is my greatest achievement. You know, just even being in New York for 10 years and being an artist and actually having some kind of like purchase or stature or visibility even. I think it you know, considering I didn't even know if I would be able to like make a living here and survive here at all ever. You know, the fact that I actually have an original voice, I think, uh, in the, you know, the cultural capital of the American side of the English language. Uh, like, you know, I wish the New York Times picked my fucking book as best book of the year. I won an Oscar or some shit. But I did win a public access award. That's kind of like an Oscar for people who, I don't know, have are outsider artists. you know, I don't know. See, being an outsider artist, I thought it was a way to get inside. But I also like being an outsider artist. So, yeah, I think 200 episodes of Scenes from a Life, all the live streams, you know, like if I were to, you know, today's the day the music died, rest in peace. Well, it was the day the music died. I'm not sure if it still is, but rest in peace, Buddy Holly, Big Bopper, Richie Valens. It's kind of an incredible thing if you think about it, if you actually realize what that is. But, you know, I think even now, if this was all I ever did, you know, there would be a lot to study. Not that anybody ever will, but like, you know, there's hundreds of hours of vlogs and live streams. You could go through all of my writing and collect it into one thing. And you know, it's not like published by a major publisher or even a real publisher. And my vlogs aren't like, you know, at a fucking film festival or anything, but they're what I wanted to do, and to me they do. It's like that's the house that I built. You know, if I had to stand back and be like, that's what I did, that's what it would be. It would be, you know, the hundreds of hours of this, and the the zines, the books, and the live performances that kind of shot across the sky of it all. So I don't know. I think, you know, that is what it is. You know, it's not nothing. I did a lot of other shit too, but maybe I should have like a good guy answer. Okay. Ooh, if you were to die and come back as a person of thing, what would it be? And then where would you most like to live? Are you playing along at home? Are you answering at home? If I were to die and come back as a person or thing, what would it be? God. Well, that's a good question, but I don't know. I'm not. Maybe like a daisy. Maybe a border collie. Probably myself again. I hope to come back exactly the same. Is that the most narcissistic answer of all? I hope nothing changes, baby. Why break the fucking why fix it? You know? Why break the fucking mold? It's good how it is, baby. I hope to come back exactly the same, except 6 feet tall. Not for me. Not for me. I don't care. For them. Just so people shut the fuck up. So people will respect me. If I were to come back as a person or thing, maybe I'd like to be a door or a tree. Definitely a bird. I'd love to be a bird at some point. Absolutely. I would love to be a fucking bird. If I could be any animal, I would definitely want to be a bird. So maybe I'll just go with that. It'd be cool to be like a, you know, some kind of fish for a little while, but definitely, if I could be a bird that like migrates like thousands of fucking miles, that would be dope. I'd like to do that. So, and I sing my ass off. That's what I, you know, just fly in spirit air and doing poetry readings. You know, that's what we're here to do. All right, what was the next question? Where would you like to live? I mean, I think that's obvious. I know exactly where I'd like to live. I mean, although maybe it's time to get out of this country, all the really cool people moved to Paris. So maybe Paris is the answer to that. Maybe Paris. You know, some nice little... that apartment we had in Montmartre where we stayed at that Airbnb. Dude, if I could live there, sign me the fucking lease today. That place was incredible. I would live there the rest of my life. But if I could live in the West Village, if I could live on... there's a townhouse on West 11th and West 4th Street. That's what I'm gunning for. I've got my Kickstarter. I need $6 million. I'm about $6 million away, so send a lot of money, and that's where I'd like to live. You know, if the West Village wasn't full of douchebags, but it is, so I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. There. I mean, if I could live on Perry Street between West 4th and Bleecker, anywhere in the West Village west of 7th Avenue would be ideal. But I'd live on McDougal. I'd live on Bleecker. Anywhere in the West Village, I'll take it. I'll take it today. I'll take it yesterday. That's where I'd like to live. The West Village, 1957. All right, what else? What is your most treasured possession? And then what do you regard as the lowest depth of misery? Oh my god. Maybe I'll cut this into 2 episodes. There's still like 10 questions left. My greatest possession. Oh my god. I mean, if anything happened to my live streams or my vlogs, even though they're not a possession, my YouTube page, I think is probably my greatest asset as far as pure value goes. My books, definitely. Books I've had since like I was a little kid. That shit means a lot to me. I have the Stars book that I got when I was like 5 years old. Stupid ass. My notebooks, definitely my notebooks. I've got this case with all my notebooks in it. That's definitely my greatest possession. That any of my notebooks, that stuff is irreplaceable. So, yeah, that's my greatest possession. Should I think of some kind of poetic answer? My greatest possession is my life in this moment we have right now. Okay, what was the next one? Oh, were people signing off? It's because I fucking... Okay, what do you regard as the lowest depth of misery? And what is your favorite occupation? The lowest depth of misery? I mean, God. Like being in some kind of, what is it, the oubliette? Or being in some, in the Tower of London or something, or anything like that. Being in a gulag, being in a maximum security prison and solitary confinement. The lowest depth of misery, being in Guantanamo, being a POW. Being in the army at all would be like terrible. I couldn't imagine anything less fun than that. I mean, the world that we're in right now is not great. There's a lot of misery and a lot of, I don't know how much depth, but, yeah, I mean, it is frustrating being trapped in a world that, like, could be, if it was even a little better, it would be a lot better. And it could be. It would be so easy to make the world, like, a lot better. And just, that's a low depth of misery that I think is very, like, a lot of these questions are, like, hypothetical or something. Like, what's the lowest depth of misery? Like, I don't fucking know. I mean, you could go anywhere with that. Being ripped apart by fucking, razor fucking back hogs or something. I don't know. Being eaten by fire ants. But it's like, as far as real life goes, like, I think there is like a steady drip of misery. Of just like, unfulfillment. Even when you're satisfied, that backfires. Pain, bodily pain, chronic aches, whatever, old injuries, not being able to get anywhere in life, not being able to get ahead at all. The Sisyphean bucket's got a hole in it nature of our fucking day to day, I think is low enough, isn't it not for you, Proust? Do we have to imagine something worse through your sadistic fucking quiz? The lowest depth of misery. I'm living it. Trying to be a poet in New York City. And having your heroes just, not let you fall on your face. So, I don't know. It could get lower. It definitely could get lower. I mean, having what you want right in front of you and not being able to get it is pretty low depth of misery. What is your favorite occupation, and what is your most marked characteristic? I mean, I do love talking. I love live streaming and doing my talk pieces. Performing, I think, is necessary and cathartic and kind of an energetic journey that you need to go through, and so that's a favorite occupation. But I mean, writing, thinking, you know, thinking and trying to make art out of thinking. So that may be talking, filming, pontificating on stage, and then sex, obviously, getting a blowjob. Not to be crass about it, but I mean, getting a blowjob is a pretty fun occupation too. Or having sex, orgasming, having sex with hot people. It's all one of it's all of that. If I could combine all of that, writing and having sex at the same time, smoking weed, that's my favorite. Getting high, having sex, and writing poetry. That's my favorite occupation. And then going on stage and first you go on stage, first you get high, first you write, then you get high, then you go on stage. Then you have sex with somebody, you get high again, you have sex, you write about that, you go back on stage, you keep getting high, you have more, and the cycle repeats itself. That's my favorite. And going for walks, walking, obviously, walking through the West Village, my beloved Manhattan, my favorite occupation. What is my most marked characteristic? My most marked characteristic would probably be my energy. My great energy, I would say, is my most marked characteristic. You know how I know? Because every motherfucker who ever comes to any of my shows tells me that. They all fucking tell me I have great energy. So I'd have to say that that's my most marked characteristic. Maybe my antisocial, judgmental, pothead anger issues. Maybe my I don't know, narcissism, self. I don't know. Probably, yeah, definitely my energy. It's got to be energy. It's got to be my energy, and like am I always on? Am I always on type thing? Am I fake? I think. Am I like this fakely positive or something? Fake positivity. Most marked characteristic. My great energy. Okay. What do you most value in your friends? This is kind of like the fucking question about men and women. What do I most value in my friends? Loyalty. It's sad because although I've had a lot of friends, I do feel like I do have the bad habit to like I want people that are kind of like sycophantic or yes people or kind of subordinate. People I'm lecturing constantly. People are like learning from me. People I dominate intellectually. One of my friends told me once that I am only friends with people who are like lesser than me because I can dominate them intellectually. Which I don't know. Maybe that is true. Am I dominating you intellectually? Leave in the comments if you think I'm dominating you intellectually. Please respond in the comments, and I'll stop. So I don't know. Quality I most like in my friends, like I was saying earlier, good writers. I don't know. I guess kindness. Once again, there's like a salt of the earth thing. One of the things I like at the open mic when people stay to the end. I've been hanging out with Danny Fallon a lot recently. Shout out to Danny Fallon. And he's just like he's smart. He's very smart. You know, he's interesting to talk to. He's got a interesting perspective, interesting point of view, thoughtful. He's accessible, you know, like he's fun. He's always saying kind of funny shit. Uh, you know, he's adding color to the conversation, but he's also just like a chiller. You know, he's unpretentious. You know, being from the Midwest, I think there is something in my friends that I like people that are have that kind of like, you know, affability, friendliness, smiling. Uh, you know, poets not always like that. You know, writers not always like that. They're a lot of times they are judgmental, cold. You know, there's a finality or an assessment or a, you know, there's a million different things. You know, they're not necessarily warm-hearted, salt of the earth, open. You know, always. And so, yeah, qualities I look for in my friends are similar to those qualities I was talking about earlier, where it's like, I don't know. Uh, but at the same time, I gotta say, I don't know if I am a good friend or if I even have friends. You know, I'm so professionalized, and everything to me is kind of work that you know, I love having friends that are entertainers and that are on stage. You know, that's one of the fun things about doing the open mic and being around open mic culture or show business is being around creative people, people who have chosen to drop out of normal life or are trying to drop out of normal life, people who are trying to come up with creative ideas, live creatively, make things, you know, script things, film things, people who have stepped outside the lines a little bit. I do look for those qualities in people, you know, people with, you know, obviously a highly, you know, evolved sense of humor or whatever. But also just like stories, you know, people that are gonna add fucking craziness to your, like John Ryan, right? Like John Ryan is like a Bill Brasky kind of larger than life dude, and like that's what you want, and you know, you want friends like that. You want friends that are just like you can party with and travel with, and I don't know. When you get into poetry world or into your respective career world, it's like a lot of times you can isolate within that. Those become your friends, right? Like the poets are your friends, the comedians are your friends, the people you work with are your friends. Um, and so I don't know. I think turning when I turned pro or whatever, when I started to take it more seriously and put all of my time into this, I think you know, my relationship to I think your relationship to your friends and family does kind of change because you have to put so much into this and it kind of cuts you off from people or something. I don't know. So it's like I think the qualities maybe you look for in people or appreciate in people might I don't know that they're different, but you know, it's like John Ryan is somebody that I've been friends with since I was a child, you know? And so it's like that relationship is still valid. It's still, you know, alive and fun and you know, we can still relate, but at the same time, being in the highly specialized field or whatever, being in open mics, it's like would I meet John Ryan today? You know, the people that I'm becoming friends with today, what qualities do they have? That's what the question is, right? That are making them people that I want to be friends with now. And it's like there is a kind of shared professional interest. You know, people that are trying to succeed. You know, it's like that thing. You know, you become the five people you spend the most time with, right? That's like a self-helpy kind of word of thumb or whatever it is. Is that it? Word of thumb? Is that a phrase? Rule of thumb. You know, and so I think if you're looking at it in that way, you're thinking about your friend group. You know, it's like you spend the most time with your friends. And so it's like, yeah, if you're thinking about it, like, I want to get better at being a comedian or poet or whatever, you might start to think about it like, oh, I need to hang out with the best five comedians I know or something. You know, I don't want to go that far. I just want real fucking people. You know, they're getting harder and harder to find. That's why people like John Ryan or Kuzu Daddy slipping the guy $50 to get in the fucking restaurant. It's like that's the kind of shit you look for in your friends, you know? Shit that's like character, You know, shows they have character or whatever. I don't know. That's like a fucking a lot of these questions are like variations on the same thing. Okay, here now we're getting to the good questions. All right, now we're getting to the literary questions. Who are your favorite writers, and who is your hero of fiction? Okay, so now this is a good question. Who are my favorite writers? Okay, of all time. I mean, they're everywhere. There's too many of them. Taylor Mead, Jack Michelin, Jack Kerouac, Ted Berrigan, Eileen Miles, Bernadette Mayer. God, I'm looking at my Lord Byron, Philip Whalen, E. E. Cummings, Shakespeare, obviously, Chaucer, Homer. Uh, who else? Um, I'm looking around my room here. Who are my favorite writers? Ashbery, no question. Frank O'Hara, Schuyler, uh, James Schuyler, definitely, no doubt about it. Um, Paul Blackburn, uh, Vach Lindsay, Carl Sandburg, Emily Dickinson, J.D. Salinger, Joel Oppenheimer, uh, Joe Chiaravolo, um, Ron Silliman, I hate to say it. Alice Notley, definitely. Hua Nguyen. I like William Corbett. Uh, John Wieners, definitely. David Anton. I'm trying to think of people who wrote like movies and stuff or TV shows. You know, one of the things and Saturday Night Live is like this too. It's hard to figure out who wrote what. You know, you don't know who wrote what skit or TV episodes. It's hard sometimes to figure out who wrote what. Quentin Crisp, John Cage, uh, Bruce Andrews. What else? Um, is that good enough for now? Who else? I should name some more like big classical people and shit. I mean Whitman, I guess. John Keats, Wordsworth, definitely. Uh, I love Life of Johnson, Boswell and Johnson. You know, I like Tom Clark's biographies a lot. Um, Neely Cherkovsky's prose. I like Charles Bukowski. I'm just gonna fucking say it. I'm sorry. Gerard Malanga, fantastic. Sam Shepard, David Mamet. I have to mention David Mamet. One of my all-time favorite writers, David Mamet. Even though he's a Prager University Trump psycho now, I love David Mamet for life, forever, forever, forever. Wallace Shawn, of course. Uh, couldn't you got to mention fucking My Dinner with Andre for Christ's sake. Gene Shepard, Spalding Gray. Uh, Dorothy Parker. Fran Lebowitz. Uh, Notorious B.I.G. Who else? David Berman, definitely. I think David Berman is a classic. I think David Berman he will be one of the giants. When they go to study, 90s, 2000s America, they'll study David Berman. Basho, haiku, definitely. You hear fucking Kuzu Daddy downstairs doing his show. Who else? John Giorno. Gotta mention John Giorno. Penny Arcade. Ovid. Aristophanes. I mean, we could go on all fucking day. Baudelaire. Apollinaire. Rimbaud, of course. You gotta mention Rimbaud. David Henderson. Leroy Jones. Norma Cole. Jackson McClough is incredible. God, you can hear Kuzu Daddy's music now. It's going to be baked into my live stream. Kenneth Patchen, Lorca, Jonathan Williams, Hart Crane, Wallace Stevens. I mean, it's endless. It's endless. Rex Roth, Kenneth Rex Roth, Ron Padgett, Zukowski, Charles Reznikoff. The list goes on. Harold Norris, Wanda Coleman, Holly Prado, Harry Northup, Ntozake Shange. I mean, the list just goes on and on. There's too many. There's too many great writers. Okay, so anyway, who is my favorite hero of fiction? I mean, characters. Memorable characters. I mean, you got to go with Holden Caulfield, Zoe Glass, Ray Ford. Ray Ford is a character who I identify with. It's from a J.D. Salinger story, I think called The Enchanted Forest or The Upside Down Forest or something like that. The Inverted Forest, I think is what it's called. Ray Ford is probably my favorite hero of fiction. Who else? Dignan, definitely. Max Fisher. Dignan. I mean, you can't beat Dignan. Charlie Chaplin. The Tramp character. George Costanza, maybe. Who else? Favorite heroes of fiction. Oh man, listen to this fucking music. Is that loud? Can you hear that? Who else? Heroes of fiction. I don't really read that much fiction, I guess, anymore. These are all like movies and shit I'm naming, TV shows. All right. We're coming to the end of the quiz, okay? So, thank you for watching. Should I talk more about Vince McMahon? Vince McMahon. Vincent Kennedy McMahon. Probably going to spend the rest of his life in jail. Yeah, that's not my birthday, but that's, I think, Valentine's Day last year. See? That was the last hurrah for me. Look at all those poets everywhere. Jesus Christ. There's Ashley flicking me off before she had complete power over everything in my life. All right. Which historical figure do you most identify with? And who are your heroes in real life? Oh, God. Which historical figure? Maybe we'll go over to the window for a sec, shall we? Well, Daddy refuels on his spinach. Which historical figure do I most identify with? Jesus Christ, obviously. To be honest, I don't know that many historical figures. If it was a historical figure, I probably wouldn't identify with them because they're like a historical figure. I'm just a fucking peon in eternity. Getting to, maybe we're luckier to be anonymous. Maybe we're luckier to live our kind of like just normal routine life amongst the great giant colossuses of history. Maybe it's better to not be a colossus of history. And to, most of history goes unrecorded. That doesn't mean it was bad. That just means it was uneventful, which was probably a good thing. So I don't know, which historical figure do I most identify with? Maybe Eisenhower. When Eisenhower was like warning people, like beware the military-industrial complex. FDR when he did his fireside chats, I identify with that. That's like a live stream. It's what I feel like I'm doing with my live streams, trying to fix the country with my New Deal from my armchair. So maybe FDR. Maybe like Wordsworth has these parts of the Prelude where he's talking about how he was in Paris during, like, before the Revolution or kind of around the time of Revolution. And he has some interesting passages about London as well. I kind of relate to those passages. I kind of feel like Wordsworth in London in 1803. Obviously Rimbaud. I think Rimbaud is the historical figure I identify with most. He's kind of a mama's boy, came to the big city and just sort of like was rejected by, elite literary society and kind of was this kind of rambunctious dissident kind of amongst the decorum of all that. And he kind of got bounced from Paris and, and then he quit literature when he was 20 or something. Not that I'm going to do that, but, Rimbaud is kind of the prototypical enfant terrible of rejecting the modern world or something. The original Holden Caulfield. And I think Rimbaud is a historical figure. I think Rimbaud was like a 20th century figure in the 19th century. He was one of the people that kind of opened up what the 20th century would be. Decoupling language from its literal meanings. Creating kind of hallucinatory fantasia. A century of world wars. Mass death. But also mass ecstasy. Mass media. The Roaring Twenties. Which historical figure do you most identify with? Johnny Appleseed. I've talked about Johnny Appleseed before, but I think Johnny Appleseed is an American hero and icon, and I think he's a good role model for what we're trying to do with poetry. The way that Johnny Appleseed just went everywhere with apple seeds, planting trees, on foot, wearing a fucking saucepan on his head. That's what we want to do with poetry. And thinking. Critical thinking skills. We want to go everywhere. Vachel Lindsay. Maybe Vachel Lindsay is the historical figure I identify with most. Vachel Lindsay, the way that he went on his... Or Jane Shepherd, or... not that these people are historical figures. They're role models. People that are... Vachel Lindsay would travel from town to town with his zines, basically. Preaching the gospel of beauty. And he would, he would do a poetry reading every night. He'd walk about 20 miles a day to the next small town. This was in the early 20th century when they still had small towns, before everything got methed out and homogenized by Walmart. But he'd walk to the next small town and he'd do a poetry reading, and the kind of, incredulous people would be kind of secretly delighted, and he'd give them his chapbooks, and they'd let him stay at their houses, in exchange for his verse. I think that that's a pretty exemplary, cool way to live. That's what I want to do. And in an immobile way, I'm reading this book, Nomad Poetics. Pierre Jory talking about nomad poetics. How that's kind of the modern nomad life. But he says you can be an immobile nomad. That's kind of how I feel. I feel like an immobile nomad. My poetry is about moving and landmarks and stuff like that, but it's like the same landscape over and over again because it's just New York. I'd like to go everywhere. Like Vagil fucking Lindsay. Should I talk about Vince McMahon? Yeah, I don't know. The Rock will probably get more involved with how they run that company, how they book the shit. Maybe Triple H will get fired. I hope he does. I imagine they'll keep some of the old guys who know about wrestling and who just know, you need somebody around to show you all where all the light switches are and shit, They just fired everybody from WWE. It wouldn't even be, what is that company going to be without Vince McMahon is the question. It was that guy's kind of fiendish imagination that created the whole vision of what made WWE kind of stand out amongst the territories. And I don't think it's going back to the territories. Like, I think that's what's like metaphorical, or like the implications of this moment are bigger than just like WWE, because like what's happening with WWE is like happening in a lot of different industries. Where it's just like it went from being mom and pops, regional, local, to being this sort of faceless, bought by some big Wall Street company or something. I think they can do exciting new things with using. I mean, I think there's no question that like Vince McMahon changed fucking wrestling, and what it is now is what he made it, and like the new people are gonna play within those paradigms. He wrote the kind of Bible on it. They're probably not going to take it as far as they did, but... Alright, let me go to the next question. Okay. Who are your heroes in real life, and what are your favorite names? There's only 5 questions left, okay? So we're almost done. Who are your heroes in real life? And what are your favorite names? My heroes in real life. Oh, Jesus. This is another corny-ass question. The firefighters. The police. No, my heroes in real life. Homeless people. I don't know. I'm amazed at, not that that's, not that I want to like, uh, uh, be disrespectful about that or anything. I kind of admire people that just like have completely dropped out of the system. Not that it's their choice. A lot of people. I mean, probably most of them, it's not their choice. I guess. I'm not trying to like make light of it, but to be honest, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, uh, like anybody within the system is just playing their part, and how cognizant can they be? And people who are validated or rewarded for their thoughts, or comedians, it's like I don't admire those people really either. It's like my heroes, the people that I really admire now, I don't know, I'd rather admire somebody who has nothing. I don't know, it's like the cliche answer would be, I don't know, nurses or fucking uh volunteers, people who volunteer their time to for charity or things like that. Uh, but I don't know. I don't know. It's just like, and maybe this is a naive way to look at it, but it's just like, god damn, our society has just conglomerated into this big. Uh, it's all bad. It's like no matter how you choose to have a job and participate, you're a celebrity, you're an author, whatever the fuck you are. It's kind of like you're just contributing to the demise. You're contributing to the Borg. You've just been assimilated into the Borg. And homeless people, I don't, like I said, maybe this is a naive way of looking at it, but I don't know. I kind of admire people that resist that kind of human categorization and fitting into, you know, the qualifications, because they don't want people that are gonna disrupt uh, their quest to just take everything over. I don't know. Who are my heroes in real life? Well, not writers anymore. Now that I met them, they're all assholes. Not really artists. I mean, good for artists. I think people should be artists, but I don't think that makes them heroes, really. Uh, Bartleby is a hero. People that say no, I don't know. Who are your heroes in real life? I don't. I mean, if you're not trying to stop uh, the like awesome systematic way that we are being disemboweled as a class, basically. There is a conservative unified wave that is going and is taking people from a middle class, lower middle class, and lowering them systematically, so they're working poor. Basically, you're going to work all the time and you're still going to be poor, and you're still going to be behind in your payments and everything, because they don't, contrary to what they say, the market doesn't actually function at all or dictate the prices of anything, because there's just monopolies and everything, so they can set the prices at whatever they want, and they don't have any fucking perspective. They don't know how much stuff costs. You know, these shareholder class of people, they don't know how much a fucking gallon of milk is. They're rich. They've all got super yachts. They have a live goat flown under their super yacht and they slaughter it. So they get fresh meat. That's how much fucking perspective they have. Fly the goat to my super yacht on my helicopter. Land the goat on my helipad on my super yacht. How much could it? It's a banana. How much could it cost, Michael? $10. That's who is in Congress. That's who. I mean, she even looks like Pelosi, doesn't she? Michael, the Bluth mom. She looks just like Pelosi. California. That's like a California style. And what's her name? Bluth, the matriarch of the Bluth. It's a banana, Michael. How much it cost? $10. That's who's in Congress right now. It's a gallon of milk. How much could it cost? $15? Yeah, so my heroes in real life. I don't know, my dad. My mom is a hero. I mean, that's the cliche answer that I was looking for. My parents. I mean, my mom really is a hero. She's a paralegal for the Ohio Environmental Protection Agency, and she serves subpoenas to like environmental criminals. So when that fucking train derailed in southern Ohio or whatever, southeastern Ohio, and fucking caused an environmental disaster, my mom was like there on the front lines on the investigation. It's like the biggest investigation, you know. It's like that's a heroic thing to do. You know, she's actively fighting against like pollution for her job. You couldn't really do any better than that. In this day and age, there's nobody, there's, as far as I can see, as far as I can tell, you know, that's heroic. You know, if there were more people doing that. Okay, I've got 10% battery left. Fuck, I have so many questions left. Son of a bitch on this fucking questionnaire. Let's look at it. I feel, okay, so I've been watching these videos of me a year ago, and I do feel like I look a lot older. And I'm like trying to figure out why. I'm like, I feel like it's my teeth. The fact that my teeth are fucked up. My diet has gotten a lot worse. So I feel like my face is puffier. My hair looks dead. I don't know. Maybe that's just, maybe I need Botox and fillers. All right. What are your favorite names? My favorite names. What is it that you most dislike? Oh, God. My favorite names? Oh, Jesus. I like my dad's name, York. I think York is a really cool name. I love the name Dignan. Obviously. Dignan is one of the greatest names of all time. What else? God. I mean, I think Jack Kerouac is like an incredible name. The way it rhymes. E.E. Cummings, great name. Obviously. Favorite names. Punky Brewster is a cool name. Hua Nguyen is a pretty cool name. John Wieners, of course, great name. I mean, John Wieners is a great name. Who else? Abraham Lincoln is a great name. I need some women's names. I think the name Una is a great name. There's not enough people named Una. What else? I like kind of long syllabic women's names. I like names like Victoria, Jessica, long, you know, maybe that's corny. Who else? What else? God, see, this is one that like you could spend a lot of time on this. It might help to like come back with a list. Women's names or people's names. What are your favorite names? I mean, there's some incredible names. Doppelpopulus. There's some cool Greek names. Uh, okay, I've only got 10% battery, so maybe we'll just have to go with that. Veronique. Alright, what else? Favorite names. I'll have to come back to it later. I don't know. What is it that you most dislike, and what is your greatest regret? Oh boy, Jesus Christ. What is it that I most dislike? Jesus, that's kind of vague. There's so much. I mean, there's so much. There's so many things that I could mention here that I most dislike. I mean, I harp on it constantly. The fact that psychopaths run our society and the wealth inequality. Let's just say wealth inequality. Here's what I dislike more than anything: the fact that I don't have a fucking apartment. That's what I dislike more than anything. Okay, the fact that I don't have an apartment in Manhattan in the West Village. I dislike that more than anything. It's not fair. So I've constructed this massive, you know, intricate theory about the world financial conspiracy that's preventing me from achieving my goals in life, including having an apartment. I gotta plug my fucking phone in because I'm on. Is that charging? It's not charging. Okay, we'll see. I hope it doesn't die. All right, so yeah, I most dislike techno-feudalism. I hate tech people, obviously. Yeah, ultra-capitalism, hyper-capitalism. I hate it. And, the late-stage capitalism. It's terrible. All right, what was it? My greatest regret. Ooh, that's a juicy one. How would you like to die, and what is your motto? Jesus Christ. My greatest regret. God damn. I don't even know where to begin. It's not. I can't really point to any one thing, but I don't know. It's been a lot of micro regrets. It's been like an infinite number of micro regrets. My greatest regret. I don't know. I mean, I did the best I could, honestly. I've done the best that I fucking could. I wish that I was okay, here's a regret maybe. I wish that I would have had the courage to do stand-up comedy when I was like in fucking high school. Because not that I like stand-up comedy, but I just wish I would have had that outlet. I wish I would have found a verbal outlet for myself on stage where I could just bring verbal material. Not necessarily comedy, but like, that's my biggest regret. My biggest regret is not making it in the movies. Some of the scripts I had would have made pretty good movies. When I was in my early 20s, I had some pretty interesting scripts. And it is a big regret that I didn't film that stuff. I would say that's my biggest regret. I had a lot of scripts that were pretty fucking good, but I just didn't really know how to believe in it to make it, or I didn't know which ideas were interesting, I didn't know which ideas would have made the more interesting movies. Like now I feel like probably I'm a little bit more conscious of how to put things together in that way. So that's probably like my greatest like real regret, I would say. Is I have all these scripts and stuff that's like I literally can't go back in time and film that stuff. Whereas if I had it, I could be like, geez, look what I was talking about this stuff way fucking 20 years ago. It might have caught on. Those scripts, they were pretty interesting actually. Okay, how would I like to die? I'm old, really fucking old, and like peacefully in my sleep, easily, peacefully in my sleep when I'm like 100 fucking years old. I mean, doesn't everybody? That's like the obvious. Like Kirk Douglas died. You know, I lived like way too long. I had a good life till the very end. I died surrounded by my loving family. We were all rich. We all had Oscars. That's how I want to die. I want to die the Nobel laureate of literature, the Nobel Prize winner, surrounded by my, huge family, like Charlie Chaplin or something in Switzerland, on my estate in Switzerland. All right, what is my motto? What is your motto? Oh, God, my motto. I know I'm going to say something that's not totally right, and can think of something better later. My motto. Fuck the day outside. That's my motto. Fuck the day outside. More good times. All right. Well, anyway, thank you for watching. I'm about to run out of battery, I think. Another 3-hour marathon. I don't know. I had to do the Proust questionnaire. Who knows if it'll hold up. Maybe I should have talked about society more. Was that interesting? That was the extended Inside the Actor Studio Bernard Pivot apostrophes questionnaire. What sound or noise? Maybe I should do the Inside the Actor Studio questions because they are different. What sound or noise do you love? That's not in the Proust questionnaire. What sound or noise do you love? All right, well, I'll have to do Inside the Actor Studio questions next time. The Proust questions were, I don't know. How did you feel about them? They're kind of gendered. And there's a lot of self-judgment in there. You're just focusing on the negatives. You're dwelling on the past. Like Triple H, we're trying to dwell on the positives. We don't want to get bogged down in all the details of Vince. Who shit on whose head during the threesome. Oh my God. So yeah, I think Vince McMahon maybe just did an Andre the Giant. I mean, he's old. Who the fuck knows? Was it on purpose? I don't know. Apparently he's into that stuff. But anyway, thank you for watching. We'll be back at the open mic on Monday. We've been catching up on the live. Godspeed. And you can do the Proust questionnaire on home. Do your own Proust questionnaire. Answer the questions, and it's a deep, soul-searching voyage. I think it's good to do every few years. Just kind of, like I said, it's like mile markers. It's like 7-Up series. You see how you've aged. The 7 ages of man. What's got 4 legs in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, and 3 in the evening? The scenes from a live streams. Thank you for watching. Good night. Have a pleasant evening.